Most people think confidence is this big performance like stepping on stage, throwing your shoulders back, raising your voice, and showing the world you're untouchable. But that's not confidence, that's acting, and you can always tell when someone is acting. The truth is, real confidence doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need to be loud or flashy. It's quiet, it's steady, it's the kind of presence that doesn't demand attention, but still holds it. You don't have to look perfect, sound perfect, or deliver some polished speech to be confident. You just have to show up as you are, and not pretend to be anything more. That's where people lean in because authenticity always outweighs performance. Confidence isn't about proving something to everybody else. It's about proving it to yourself first. You don't need to force your words into someone's ears. You need to believe them in your own chest. Bravado shouts, but belief doesn't have to. When you believe what you're saying, even the simplest sentence carries weight. People can sense when your words are rooted in conviction versus when they're just dressed up to sound impressive. You don't win confidence by pushing harder. You win it by standing firm in what you already know to be true. Silence, that's the part everybody's afraid of. You say something, and then there's this pause. The kind that feels like 1,000 eyes are burning through you, waiting for you to mess it up. And what do most people do in that moment? They panic. They rush. They start filling the air with words that don't even matter, just to escape the discomfort. But here's the truth. Silence is not your enemy. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. The person who can sit in silence after they speak, that's the one people pay attention to. Because silence gives weight to your words. It makes people lean in, think about what you just said, and wonder what's coming next. And the funny thing is, we often believe confidence is about never pausing, never hesitating, keeping this flawless flow of words going like we're a machine. But the strongest speakers, the most confident people you've ever met, they use silence like it's part of the message. They don't fear it, they own it. Think about it when someone is insecure. They rush to fill the gap. They talk over themselves, they backtrack, they explain and explain and explain, because silence feels like rejection. But when you're confident, silence isn't rejection, it's reflection. It's giving your words room to breathe. It's letting the weight of your conviction land before you move on. That pause, that quiet, is where people actually process what you just told them. And here's where it flips everything you've been taught. Silence doesn't make you look like you don't know what to say. Silence makes you look like you mean exactly what you said, because if you really believe it, you don't need to rush to prove it. You don't need to decorate it. You don't need to throw 100 words at the wall hoping something sticks. You can say one sentence, let it sit there, and trust that it has enough strength to hold itself up. When I was younger, I thought talking fast, filling the air, and keeping everyone's attention meant I was confident. But the truth, it meant I was scared. I was scared that if I stopped talking, people would stop listening. Now I know, if I stop and let the silence hang, the right people lean closer. That's what confidence is. Not speed, not noise, not volume, presence, and silence creates presence. That's why the most confident people in any room don't rush to be heard. They trust their words enough to let them echo. They can make a point, stop, and let you sit with it. They know silence doesn't weaken their voice, it strengthens it. So the next time you speak, and that uncomfortable pause creeps in, don't run from it, don't cover it up. Stand in it, breathe in it, own it, because silence isn't a sign that you've lost control. It's the proof that you're in control. And the moment you learn to treat silence as your ally instead of your enemy, that's the moment people start listening, not just to your words, but to you. And let's clear up another lie we've been sold. This idea that your voice has to sound strong, polished, unshakable, or else no one will take you seriously. That's not true. Your voice doesn't define the value of your words. You can stand in front of a crowd with your voice shaking, your hands trembling, your heart racing, and still speak with more confidence than someone who looks smooth and unbothered. Why? Because confidence isn't how your words sound, it's where they come from. A shaky voice does not mean you lack confidence. A shaky voice means you're human. It means you care. It means you're willing to show up even when fear is present. And that, right there, that's real strength. Some of the most powerful things ever said were spoken softly. Some of the most life-changing truths were whispered. It wasn't the tone that gave them power. It was the conviction behind them. We get caught up in this trap of thinking, if I don't sound bold, if I don't sound flawless, no one will believe me. But here's the reality. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with authenticity. When your voice cracks, when it shakes, when it carries the weight of your nerves, people don't dismiss you. They lean in, they think that's real, that's honest, that's someone I can trust. Confidence isn't about eliminating the tremble in your voice. Confidence is speaking even while the tremble is there. It's saying, this matters to me enough that I'm willing to let you see me nervous and still speak up anyway. And that lands deeper than the loudest, smoothest, most rehearsed delivery you could ever give. So don't wait for your voice to be perfect before you speak. Don't hold back until you sound the way you think confidence should sound, because your voice, no matter how it comes out, is already enough when it carries your truth. And sometimes, the cracks in your voice aren't weakness, they're proof that what you're saying matters. And here's something most people miss: you don't actually need everyone's approval to be confident. Think about how much energy we waste trying to get every nod, every smile, every sign that people agree with us before we feel secure in what we're saying. That's not confidence, that's dependence. If your words only stand when others hold them up, then they were never standing in the first place. Real confidence is saying something and being okay if it doesn't land with everyone. It's being okay if someone disagrees, if someone rolls their eyes, if someone doesn't clap. Because confidence isn't about winning the room. It's about not losing yourself in the room. When you need everyone's approval, you'll bend, you'll soften, you'll twist your words just to be liked. But when you're confident, you can stand in your truth even if it makes some people uncomfortable. And here's the truth, not everybody will agree with you. Not everybody will like you. Not everybody will see what you see. And that's not a reflection of your worth. That's just reality. The mistake is thinking confidence is about convincing everybody. It's not. It's about holding steady even when nobody is convinced. It's about saying, I know what I mean, I know why I'm saying it, and I don't need you to clap before I can believe it. Confidence without the need for approval is freedom. Freedom to say less, freedom to stand taller, freedom to trust yourself without chasing validation. And the moment you stop depending on their approval, your words stop sounding desperate and start sounding certain. People feel that. They respect it even if they don't agree with it. We get caught up thinking confidence comes from sounding smart, from saying the perfect line, from stringing together some clever phrase that will impress everybody in the room. But that's not confidence, that's performance again. The truth is, the most confident people aren't trying to be clever, they're trying to be clear. Because when you're clear, people can trust you. When you're clever, people might clap, they might laugh, but they won't always remember what you meant. Clarity is confidence. It's choosing simple words that carry weight over fancy words that just make noise. It's resisting the temptation to over-explain, to pile on more and more details just to sound impressive. You don't need layers of decoration when the truth itself is enough. The person who can say something in one clear sentence without fluff, without performance, that's the one who sounds the most certain in the room. Think about it. Clever words fade. People forget the punchlines, but clarity sticks. It's clean, it's sharp. It cuts through the noise, and that's what confidence really looks like. knowing that your point doesn't need to be dressed up to have value. You don't need to overcomplicate it to make it powerful. When you're clear, you're grounded, and when you're grounded, people listen differently. They don't have to work to understand you. They don't have to decode what you mean. They just hear it, and it lands. That's what makes your words believable, not the style, not the cleverness, but the honesty and the simplicity. Confidence isn't about putting on a show. It's not about who can talk the loudest, who can tell the best story, or who can hold the spotlight the longest. Performance fades, but presence lasts. When you walk into a room truly present, people feel it before you even say a word. Presence is steady, grounded, unforced. It's the quiet message that says, I belong here, and I don't need to prove it to you. Performance is exhausting because it's all about managing impressions, keeping the mask on, making sure nobody sees the cracks. But presence doesn't care about cracks. Presence says, this is me, take it or leave it. And that's what draws people in. They don't connect with the polished version of you. They connect with the real you, the one who isn't performing, just being. The most confident person in a room doesn't have to dominate it. They don't have to fight for space. Their presence fills it naturally because they aren't trying to be anywhere else. They're not trapped in their head worrying about how they look, how they sound, or what everyone is thinking. They're here, fully here, and people can feel when you're fully here. That's why presence matters more than performance. Because performance entertains, but presence influences. Performance gets attention, but presence earns respect. And when you stop trying to act confident and start choosing to simply be present, your words carry a different kind of weight. Not forced, not polished, just real, and real is unforgettable. Confidence isn't about controlling the room. It's not about making sure every person agrees with you, nods their head, or reacts exactly how you want them to. That's not confidence. That's fear dressed up as control, and the harder you try to control, the more it slips through your fingers. True confidence is calm. It's not forceful. It's not desperate. It's steady. The calmest voice in the room often becomes the strongest voice in the room, not because it's louder, not because it demands obedience, but because it doesn't flinch. It doesn't chase. It doesn't scramble to manage how everyone else reacts. Think about the difference. A person trying to control the room talks over people, repeats themselves, gets defensive when someone disagrees. Their energy says, please believe me, please accept me, I need you to validate me. That's not confidence. It's insecurity fighting to be disguised. Now picture someone calm. They make their point, they stop, and they let it sit. If someone interrupts, they don't panic. If someone disagrees, they don't explode. They don't fight to dominate, they trust that their words are enough. Calm is magnetic. It tells the room, I'm not shaken by your reaction. I'm not here to wrestle for approval. I'm here to speak what I believe and I can let it stand. That's confidence. The person who doesn't chase the room ends up commanding it. And here's the mistake so many of us make. We think confidence means we have to hold everything together, every moment, every eye, every reaction. But the reality is, the more you try to control, the more you lose your calm, and the less convincing you become. Because people don't trust desperation, they trust stability. They don't trust the person frantically trying to prove a point. They trust the person who can hold steady when challenged. Calm doesn't mean you don't care. Calm means you know who you are so much that you don't have to fight to defend it every second. Calm means you can listen without feeling attacked. You can pause without feeling insecure. You can disagree without feeling threatened. That's not weakness, that's power. Confidence is not about grabbing the room by the throat. It's about holding your own ground so firmly that people feel they can lean on it. And that ground is calm, because control looks strong, but calm is strong. Calm is the proof that you don't need to manipulate the moment. You can live in it. So the next time you're speaking, and you feel that urge to push harder, to convince louder, to tighten your grip on how people respond. Don't. Step back, breathe, slow down, let calm lead instead of control, because calm is what convinces people you believe what you're saying. Calm is what tells them you're not just performing, you're anchored. Calm is what turns your words from noise into truth. And here's something nobody tells you. Fear doesn't mean you've lost your confidence. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. Fear doesn't mean you don't belong where you are. Fear simply means you care. If you didn't care about what you were saying, if you didn't care about the people in front of you, if you didn't care about the impact your words might have, there would be no fear at all. The presence of fear is not proof that you're unqualified. It's proof that you're human. We confuse confidence with fearlessness, but those two things couldn't be more different. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. Confidence is the decision to speak, even while fear is standing right next to you. It's not waiting until the nerves go away. It's carrying them with you and choosing to show up anyway. That's what separates the people who grow from the people who hide. Think about it. Some of the most powerful leaders, speakers, and change makers in history have admitted they were terrified before they spoke. Their hands shook, their stomachs flipped, their voices cracked, but they still stood there. They still opened their mouths. They still said what mattered, and in doing that, they taught us something unforgettable. Your fear doesn't stop your voice unless you let it. Confidence is not pretending you're not scared. It's not trying to erase every ounce of nervousness before you act. Confidence is saying, yes, I feel this fear. Yes, my chest is tight. Yes, my voice might stumble, but I'm here anyway, and I'm speaking anyway. That's not weakness, that's strength. If you wait until fear is gone before you speak, you'll wait forever. But if you step forward with fear at your side, you'll discover that fear doesn't silence you, it sharpens you. And every time you do it, every time you prove to yourself that you can walk through fear instead of around it, your confidence grows. Not because you never felt fear, but because you refuse to let it hold the mic. And at the core of it all, confidence comes down to this self-trust. Because if you don't trust yourself, no technique, no posture, no clever phrase will ever hold up under pressure. Self-trust is the foundation. It's the voice inside that says, even if I stumble, even if I don't say it perfectly, even if someone challenges me, I can handle it. That's where real confidence is born, not from rehearsing the perfect line, but from knowing you'll be okay even if the line isn't perfect. When you trust yourself, you don't panic in silence, you don't chase approval, you don't crumble when fear shows up. Because you've built this steady ground beneath you that doesn't depend on how the room reacts, you can stand there, own your words, and let them be enough. Self-trust means you don't need every detail to be flawless. You need to be willing to show up, willing to speak, willing to let the chips fall where they may and know that you'll figure it out. The truth is, most people wait until they feel confident before they speak. But the ones who actually become confident are the ones who speak first, stumble, learn, adjust, and build trust in themselves through action. You can't think your way into confidence. You earn it by proving to yourself that you can survive the moment. And every time you survive it, every time you keep going, your trust in yourself grows. That's what makes your words powerful. Not volume, not bravado, not polish, trust. Because when you trust yourself, people can feel it. They can sense that you're not performing, you're not desperate, you're not searching for their validation. You're standing in something solid, and that solidity, that self-trust, is what makes your voice impossible to ignore. So here's the bottom line: confidence is not what you've been told it is. It's not loud, it's not flawless, it's not the absence of fear or the perfect delivery of words. Confidence is presence. It's conviction. It's the quiet strength of someone who trusts themselves enough to speak, even if their voice shakes, even if silence follows, even if not a single person claps. Confidence is not about performance, it's about truth. And when you choose to believe your words, when you stop chasing approval and start trusting yourself, that's when people lean in. That's when your voice carries weight, not because you sounded perfect, but because you were real, and real is always what resonates.